Good afternoon. I wanted to share with you a few things that have been on my mind as I look at the news and as I consider what's going on in America. We know that what happens in America often has a lot of influence around the world, so this is important to consider for our awareness, for our prayers. There are so many divisions. We are continuously divided between red and blue, Democrat and Republican, liberal and conservative, New Ager or traditional Christian or Catholic. And this is truly detrimental to the progress of our nation and to the progress of freedom and enlightenment on this planet. I have friends on both sides of the fence. I have walked both sides. And I would like to preface some of my comments with an understanding of various spiritual traditions. In the Kabbalah, we see that there are two pillars. The divine pillar of Hesed, which is love and forgiveness, and what you might call a more liberal demonstration of divinity. And then on the other side is the pillar of Gevurah, which is severity and judgment, and what you might consider the more conservative side of divinity. And in the middle of the two, we find the pillar of Tiferet, which is the Christ consciousness, the Christ, which is Tiferet, which is the Greek anointed. The word Christos means anointed. So this takes us then to the Buddhic tradition where Gautama Buddha speaks of the middle way, and that was brought about by this beautiful maiden playing a lute, and he heard the lute and he was reminded by his divine self, if the string is too tight, it will break, but if it's too loose, it won't play. So we have to find that middle way between the two to create that divine harmony of our divine self and of God reality in our world. And then when I consider the example, the beautiful teachings of Jesus, we see time and time again his middle way, non-fanatic approach. And I do believe that Jesus went to India in his last years, and I do believe that he studied in the Himalayas, and that he studied the Vedic teachings, and that he studied the steps and path of the Buddha. In fact, if you read the life of Saint Isa, you will get a lot more understanding about that. The only reason people have blocked this teaching is because of wanting to cement this division and their power and control. I'm talking about the traditional Catholic Church and Orthodoxy. If we would embrace this awareness or understanding that I personally treasure, we would see these divisions between East and West melt away. Now, when Jesus' disciples did not want to go and speak to the Gentiles, Jesus encouraged them to. When the Pharisees did not want him to heal on the Sabbath, he said the Sabbath is made for man and not man for the Sabbath. When disciples were concerned about being associated with non-circumcised people, because that was the Jewish law, Jesus said the most important thing is the circumcision of the heart. And when Peter was concerned about eating something that was not a part of his Jewish diet, he received the dream from Jesus. Rise, Peter, kill and eat. Jesus also gave us the parable of the Good Samaritan. So Jesus again and again demonstrated this non-fanatic, embracing approach of Tiferet, the Christ. But that did not mean that he put up with the darkness that was found in the Pharisees, and some of them, not all of them, some of them. He always challenged absolute darkness. And so, in the book of Revelation, we read about the forces of Gog and Magog that divide us. It's the warring of Gog and Magog. It's the warring of these two sides. And we have to be able to bring in a golden age, an enlightened age of Aquarius, which is the time that we're in now. We've moved from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. We need to be able to transcend these divisions, these artificial divisions that keep the body of God splintered. We have to heal that Adam Kadmon, like the old Kabbalic tradition explains. I was really dismayed to find that in the confession ritual at the local Catholic Church, the number one sin listed as a mortal sin was to have contact with New Agers and Eastern religions. And then on the other side, I'm so dismayed to see the level of misunderstanding that people have about, for example, gender. I'd like to say a word about that. Because you see, we have incarnated into a specific body for a specific life for a specific reason. And it's clearly written, male and female created he them. So to try to want to do it any other way is simply moving against the law of our very nature. And the law of nature, we have to understand that it's true that to some degree we are all androgynous. We all have a certain level of male and female in us, and that we have had the experience of playing both roles in our incarnations through time and space. But when we forsake that middle way of understanding and we rebel against what is our given birth package, we are only creating karma for ourselves that will compound the issue and the problem in future lifetimes. That's really the truth. And being a rebel against the laws of God and against the reality of nature only hurts us. We're really rebelling against our own divine self. So when I look at what you would call the Catholic Christian side of things, or the conservative side of things, I see that they really do embrace the laws of the Father with a somewhat militant, crusading Christ, boy child, Son of God consciousness. But they don't truly embrace the reality of the mother, of the divine mother, who loves all of her children and wants them all home, as well as the love of Mother Nature, that love of the environment on which we live. There's less of that on that side of the fence. On the other side of the fence, we see a great appreciation for the Holy Spirit, and Holy Spirit which goes wherever it listeth, and the freedom that goes with that, and the seeming love that goes with that. But there is a rejection of the laws of the Father. There's a rejection. And we cannot have that unconditional love of Mother without the obedience to the Father principle that's found in all spiritual traditions, and it's found in our own being, in our own core self. We are Father and Mother and Christ child, Son, and Holy Spirit daughter, all within the facets and aspects of our soul, these 4 divine and human archetypes. And so I would like to encourage each and every one of us to consider how we can overcome the divisions that keep us from truly carrying the banner that George Washington saw when he was given that 3rd prophecy, the banner the angel carried that said union. Also, that we fulfill the words that Longfellow penned in the poem Hiawatha, "Remember ye are brethren." We have to understand that if we are not able to do this, then only the extremes will have their day. And when we're looking at all of these extremes that move away from the middle way, we are truly engaged in evil, the energy veil. We need to move out of that back into the middle way, which is basically taking us up into our higher divine consciousness, where there is an embracing of the plurality and the oneness of God in spirit and on earth. Thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. So these are my thoughts, and I hope we can get through this time and truly anchor that age of Aquarius as the age of freedom, enlightenment, love, and transmute these divisions and hatreds and polarities. If we don't just do it for ourselves and for our soul evolution, we must do it for the youth of the world, who are certainly coming in with an Aquarian consciousness, no matter what family program they are born into. Most important thing is to love God with all our hearts, and then to love our neighbor as ourselves. Not compromising the laws, but also opening ourselves up to the existence and awareness of the great largesse that we find through all of the world's spiritual history and traditions, which was all inspired by beings in the higher planes of consciousness from which Jesus descended, and Buddha, and all of the lights of East and West. God bless you. Thanks for watching. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.